about you guys, but I'm fired up and ready to rock and roll with some more spring football results. We had a great show on Thursday. Thank you guys for tuning in and listening. 4,900 listeners and counting for Pigskin Frenzy. Guys, a big thank you for that big jump over the weekend. We are about to hit pretty much the RN season goal here at Pigskin Frenzy, and that's 5,000 listeners plus by the end of the season. We're going to hit that before the season even starts. So Pigskin Frenzy just on the rise. It's rocking and rolling. I'm so fired up, and I'm so thankful for what the Lord has done. I hope everyone's had a great Easter weekend. I had a great Easter weekend worshiping our Lord and Savior Jesus, because without him, we wouldn't be doing this show today, and without him, we wouldn't be living life. So go praise the Lord, and we are so thankful for him. Guys, we are ready for more our next round of spring results. Ohio State, Michigan, Oregon, Illinois, 4 teams from the Big Ten. You guys are up for spring results on Pigskin Frenzy. Guys, welcome to Pigskin Frenzy on this beautiful Tuesday afternoon. Thank you for joining us. I'm Joel Norris, and whether you're watching on YouTube, listening on Spotify, listening on Podbean, or listening on Apple, a big thank you for taking some time out of your Tuesday to just sit back, watch, and listen to some college football coverage and some spring football coverage presented by me. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like each episode, leave comments down below. Spotify, Podbean, and Apple. All you got to do is just share around with others and follow on there as well. X and Instagram at Pigskin_Frenzy. Follow up the pages there. You're going to get episode updates, news and highlights from across college football, trivia questions, and exclusive content on Instagram stories. Going to answer today's college football question, as well as all things up to date, as well as exclusive content from Pigskin Frenzy. Guys, there's the website, www.pigskinfrenzy.weebly.com. There you will find all things up to date for Pigskin Frenzy. There's a Home and About Me page. Learn more about me as your podcast host. There is also, guys, if you want to know this, there is also the contact info down below. Name, email, question. I'll answer it on air or off air if need be. There's the platforms page. All the platforms I just mentioned. Go and click on those, which one's your favorite listening style of the show. There is also store and affiliations page. Click on that as soon as we get that regularly updated and get our website regularly updated and continue to regularly update it for all things Pigskin Frenzy. That is www.pigskinfrenzy.weebly.com. More on everything coming soon in that department. Guys, we are ready to rock and roll with our latest round of spring outlooks for Pigskin Frenzy. I'm so fired up. I'm so excited. I'm ready to rock and roll. Guys, you're thinking, dude, what's up with you? You look like you're throwing yourself away. Look, I'm rocking, it's a casual t-shirt. I'm rocking the Members Mark shirt. Shout out to Members Mark. Guys, if you want a deal done with Pigskin Frenzy, call me. That's all I can say. Call me, email me. I'm ready to rock and roll. I'm ready to talk business with you guys. I love Members Mark shirts. That's free advertisement right there. Go and the Members Mark and get your own shirt, because it is comfortable. It's comfy. I wore it last Tuesday. It was a green one. I'm wearing a gray one now. I'm ready to rock and roll, and I'm fired up. So I'm ready to rock and roll. I'm ready to rock and roll doing these spring results and talk about some Big Ten football and some of these the top premier teams of the Big Ten last year. So besides, well, Penn State was in there, but Penn State's not talking about today. But anyway, we did. This past Thursday, we talked about South Carolina, Clemson, Alabama, LSU. Last week, we talked about Florida State, Purdue, Indiana, and Ole Miss. Now, we're going with our third spring results from our Outlook series, I guess, and it is Ohio State, Michigan, Oregon, and Illinois. Now, Michigan, Illinois, and Oregon, well, Michigan and Oregon have their spring games yet to be played. Michigan is playing their spring game on Saturday. On Saturday, or this past Saturday. Michigan played their game this past Saturday. Oregon is playing their game this Saturday. Illinois is kind of wrapping up their spring practice. So you're thinking, dude, why are you doing spring results when things have already happened, or things have not happened, or have just been done and everything? Like, you have to just think about this in a way of, there's a lot of people and a lot of confusion out there with, okay, who's going to do spring practice? Who's going to do spring games? Who's going to do this? Who's going to do what? So you just got to go to the best of your abilities. Thursday, prime example of that, with UNLV as a prime example of that. So we're going to talk about them. We're going to talk about everything going on. That's Thursday. That's the Group of Five edition Thursday, but we're going to go over the Big Ten one right now. Michigan had their spring game. They're in the midst of they were in the midst of theirs on this past Saturday. They just got done. Oregon still has a spring game yet to be played. Ohio State's got theirs done. And then Illinois is still trying to wrap up everything with their practice as well. They are not holding a spring game. Guys, Just keep on plugging into Pigskin Frenzy. That's all I got to tell you for more spring football coverage. We wrap up our spring football coverage May 13th. And then right after, we go into a talk about the spring transfer portal window and the top teams, who's winning the portal there, and who's doing what in the spring transfer portal window. We talk about that mid-May, right after the May 13th edition of Pigskin Frenzy, and I'll tell you, and I'll have more announcements on that episode coming soon after, on May 13th at least. But up until May 13th, we do our spring football results, and we're ready to rock and roll. Let's get started with the Big Ten. Let's talk about Ohio State. Enough of me just going on rambles and just shambles, just talking about, whatever. I'm just rambling at this point. So let's talk about something. If we want to ramble, let's talk about some college football. Ohio State. What a run they had, right? And you think about what happened there, leading up until the 2024 season. They watched their rival Michigan win the national championship. I always say this. And then they started just buying some of their roster. And that's what everybody does. They go into the portal, spend their NIL, and use their budget for this roster, put their roster together, and then go win a national championship. That's what happens in college football. And that is the name of the game in football and college football now. Ohio State built their roster perfectly. They said, we're going to go to the national championship, and that's what we're building for. It's all or nothing. And guess what? They went for it all and achieved all. They went to Atlanta and won the national championship. They are the defending national champions, and now we're entering spring here, and they lose pretty much the majority of their national championship team. And they bring some guys back, including star wide receiver Jeremiah Smith and wide receiver number 2, Cornell Tate. But the price of it was they lose both of their coordinators. They lost defensive coordinator Jim Knowles to Penn State in a lateral move for more money, and they also lost Chip Kelly to the NFL, who's now with the Las Vegas Raiders. They replace Chip Kelly with offensive coordinator and wide receivers coach Brian Hartline, now back at the OC position. This time he will actually call the plays. Then you have DC, Jim Knowles gone. Who do they bring in? They bring in NFL-minded defensive coordinator Matt Patricia to be the defensive coordinator for the Ohio State Buckeyes. Some good moves that Ryan Day has brought in. Ryan Day is extremely confident in both coordinators and his coaching staff heading into the 2025 year. He acknowledges that this is going to be a little bit more of a challenge this year than it is last year because you lost pretty much majority of your roster from the championship team. You lose a lot, some big pieces on defense. You still have some pieces on defense like Caleb Downs in the secondary, but you also lose some guys like JT, like Jack Sawyer. You also lose some guys on offense. The two-headed dragon at running back with Trevion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins. You lose Emeka Ibuka. You lose Will Howard. You know what I'm saying? You lose some of those guys, but it's Ohio State. You reload, you lock in, and you reload, and you got some depth, and you got some talent on that team still. And this spring game, this whole spring was for Ohio State to showcase that talent and to showcase what they were about what they are about heading into the fall and getting ready for that opener against Texas. So, excuse me. So, I'm ready to see. And this is what I was ready to say. I'm ready to see Brian Hartline is foundationally good. What's it going to look like from Chip Kelly's offense? I'm ready to see what Matt Patricia's defense is going to look like and how he's going to look foundationally on defense and what the scheme of things are going to look like for them. I'm also ready to see who's going to take that leap in that quarterback spot. Julian Sayin is the guy, but I want to see also, because I've been hearing a lot about Lincoln Kienholz coming in to his own and kind of challenging Julian Sayin for that starting job. Lincoln Kienholz, and then you also got Tavian St. Clair, the 5-star quarterback prospect who is now early enrolled for this team. So we're fired up, we're ready to rock and roll, and we're ready to see and give you my results from their spring game. So their spring game happened, and what I saw was in the quarterback competition that there is a little bit of a leap. Right now, Julian Sayin is the clear front runner for this football team as QB1 heading into the Texas opener on August 30th. Look, Julian Sayin, he hasn't played much, obviously. He was a true freshman in Alabama. He transferred, and he went into Alabama. He didn't even play a down of football at Alabama. He transferred in to Ohio State last year. He's a, kind of a redshirt freshman going into sophomore by hours, and Julian Sayin is ready to now make his debut and shine a little bit, right? He's getting his chance to start for Ohio State, and he's looking like he will be QB1 for this team. He looks really, really good. He was struggling a little bit in practice before the spring game, and then the spring game happened, and he was making some accurate throws, accurate decision making. He is looking like making some athletic throws. He's doing really, really well in this game. He looked pretty good, I think. I think he was, to me, like he was playing and showing everybody that I'm QB1 for this team heading into the fall and heading into the season opener against Texas. That's what he looked, and that was his attitude that he was saying in this spring game. And that's what I saw. I thought that, I thought that a little bit Lincoln Kienholz and Tavian St. Clair struggled some. I think Kienholz struggled a little bit more than Tavian St. Clair. I think Tavian St. Clair wanted to show a little bit that I'm just getting the jitters out and I'm ready to rock and roll. St. Clair made some surprisingly good throws. He threw an impressive deep ball in the game, and he was really, really good in the spring game later on. But the first part, he was just trying to get the jitters out. But Tavian St. Clair, I wouldn't count him out as the future of this team starting as a starting quarterback for Ohio State. He looked really, really good throwing the ball and making good decisions. Lincoln Kienholz was doing some good things in spring practice, but in the spring game, he looked like he was at least QB2 in this game for this team. And I'm not saying anything's wrong with that. I'm not saying anything's bad with Lincoln Kienholz. I'm just saying that if there was a leap, and that was one check mark that I wanted to see answered on who was going to be in the competition and leap in the competition for Ohio State's starting quarterback job, check. It's Julian Sayin. And I think Julian Sayin looks like he would be right now, to me, like if I was Brian Hartline, if I was Ryan Day on who I was starting at quarterback against Texas, I would put Julian Sayin right now in over Kienholz and Tavian St. Clair. Now, does it mean we have a whole lot of fall left, and we have workouts left, we have training camp left and preseason left? We have all that left, but right now it's looking like Julian Sayin is going to be QB1 for this team. We got a little bit of a feel of their defense too. Their defense is a little bit missed. I'm not going to lie. It is a little bit younger, on the younger side, and they do have some younger players stepping up, but Ohio State is still talented and ultra talented, and they are going to find a way to get some of that experience in, get some of those jitters out, and they're going to show everybody while still young that this team is going to be a force to be reckoned with in the Big Ten. Ryan Day is their head coach. Offensive coordinator Brian Hartline is their offensive coordinator. Then you got defensive coordinator Matt Patricia for this Ohio State team. I'm curious to see what they're going to look like heading into the Texas game, because that's going to be a tough opener for them, especially with losing a lot of their guys from the national championship team last year. I mean, I'm just saying, like, I think that they're solid at receiver. I think Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith obviously are elite receivers. You got some help on that end. But if you want to look, at some of their guys, when it comes to quarterback, when it comes to just everything, right? I feel like overall with Ohio State, how they looked overall, was it good? But are they going to be a repeat for a national championship? It's kind of too early to say that, because I think they showed some flashes of inexperience because they're a young football team. I think that's just the point of getting over the hump of trying to rebuild a team and build up a roster that is a lot younger than last year's, right? So I think that's what they're experiencing, and I think that is what they're trying to get at, right? So Julian Sayin at QB1, we got a good look at their offense, foundation-wise. I think they're a little bit more, I think they're explosive, but not as explosive as they were with Chip Kelly. I think Matt Patricia has a good defensive game plan schematically, but I also think that they just got to get their players built up a little bit more. That's all it is. They're just a younger team. Overall, how do I grade Ohio State's roster, and how do I grade their spring overall as a team? Well, overall, I would grade it an A-. Pigskin Frenzy grade of A- for Ohio State. I'm going to tell you why. I think the inexperience is what's getting to me a little bit. I think that they are a good team, and that roster's loaded. They have a phenomenal football team and phenomenal roster. I'm not saying that. But you got to be honest. It's not like it was last year. It's not like it was in 2024, right? We're talking about 2025 here. This is not national championship talk, and this is being honest. They're a younger team. They got to get experience in. I think an A- suffices. I think it's a good grade for their spring. I think they have to show a little bit more of experience. I think that there are some upside. I think Julian Sayin, you got to feel comfortable with Julian Sayin making some of those good decision-making throws and good accurate throws and good athletic throws and good timing and how he plays as a quarterback and how he carries himself. You got to feel really confident about that. So that's part of my A- grade, but it's not an A+ or an A grade. It's just an A-. I just say the inexperience is the only thing that they got to get over, and they just got to build up a little bit. They just got to keep playing and keep practicing and keep getting ready for the season. So A- for Ohio State for me, and that is, for me, their spring and how I view their spring. So that's Ohio State spring results. Let's move on to their counterpart. And let's talk about Michigan, how they did in their spring and how everything's going there. Bryce Underwood looks good, doesn't he? I mean, for their spring practice, Bryce Underwood was making accurate throws. He is a solid quarterback, and I think most likely he will be QB1 for this team. And that is what I think Chip Lindsey, the offensive coordinator for this team, is looking at. He's looking at, is it going to be Mikey Keene or is it going to be Bryce Underwood? That's what I was thinking. It's looking like Bryce Underwood's the truth, and he will be day one starter. Who is going to be that wide receiver for this team? Is the defense going to be even bolstered even more? You lose some pieces like Kenneth Grant and Mason Gray on the D-line. How's that defense going to look on the defensive line? How is that going to bolster it up? Who's going to be a true wide receiver for this Michigan offense? How's everything going to look foundationally there? I am confident in Bryce Underwood as quarterback. He showed some struggles, yes, in that spring game, but I'm not going to sit there and say that he's not, bad. He looked really talented, really phenomenal. I think you get some practice in him. He is going to be a bright star in college football. He's going to have a good 3 years at Michigan, or if he enters the portal, I don't know. Who knows nowadays? But, the way Michigan is presenting Bryce Underwood, the way Michigan's presenting this team, the way Michigan is trying to buy in with their roster and trying to get with their recruiting. They did really, really well in recruiting, done really, really well in the transfer portal in the winter. They're trying to do really, really well and finish off strong in the 2025 transfer portal for the spring, trying to finish off really, really well. And they're trying to put pieces, and they're trying to build that roster for the 2025 season and build and piece everything together. I really like how strong they are, schematically. I really like that Michigan is a team that is like, hey, we acknowledge that we weren't the best last year, but we're 8-5. We're going from a national championship year to a rebuilding year. We got to discover who we are under Sharon Moore. Now they know they have a solid quarterback. Now they have a dynamic running game with Jordan Marshall and Justice Haynes, the transfer running back from Alabama. They got a dynamic duo at running back. They just got to get some receivers in there. They got to get some guys and establish on who is going to be their go-to playmakers on offense. Defensively, I think they're going to be just fine. You got to replace guys like Will Johnson in the secondary. That's the key thing there. But overall, this spring and in their spring game, they answered some questions about, some of the things that I was looking towards, like the quarterback and who has the leap in the quarterback competition. I think Bryce Underwood's really got it. I really do. I think Bryce Underwood has that it factor for Michigan. And he has that it factor that Michigan's been looking for, and I think Michigan really, really did good at giving him that NIL deal and letting him sign with Michigan and commit to Michigan and stay there. They did a really, really good job recruiting him, and they really did a really good job of paying him that NIL contract and getting him there. Like, they needed a quarterback, and Bryce Underwood fits the bill. I think to me, it's not official, but if I had to take a guess, I would believe that Bryce Underwood starts week 1. I just am being totally honest. I think Mikey Keene's good. I just think Bryce Underwood is a star and has the potential of being a star and a true day one starter, even as a freshman for this team. I think he's going to get some of those jitters out of the way, and they're going to throw him into the fire to get in some experience in, and he's going to get better and better and better at the collegiate level and the college level for this Wolverines team. I really like Chip Lindsey's system. I think that Chip Lindsey's offensive system is going to work a little bit better than what they had under Kirk. I think that or under Campbell, I think what's going to be the driving force is a little bit more of an up-tempo pace, and they're going to let Bryce Underwood and let the running game kind of pave the way, right? They're still going to have that running game, but I think with a dynamic quarterback like Bryce Underwood, getting him involved a lot more in the scheme of things is going to be really, really good for this team. I think this offense is going to look good. I think that Chip Lindsey's foundation and scheme for this offense and his game plan early on heading into the fall is looking really, really good. Wink Martindale, there's nothing you can really say about, nothing really bad you can say about Wink Martindale. He's produced some good talent. He's going to continue to produce good talent on Michigan's defense. Michigan's defense is going to look physical. They look physical. At first, they were, kind of finding their own way, but Wink Martindale got it together, and as the last part of that second half of that 2024 season, that defense looked stingier and stingier. So, especially in that Alabama Reliant Quest Bowl, when they played Alabama in the Reliant Quest Bowl, that defense looked really, really stingy. And I think Wink Martindale is trying to make that happen even more throughout the spring. So I think Michigan's game plan overall, how they are preparing mentally, how they look schematically, playbook-wise, how they're building, they just look like they're ready to make a run and try to do something this year in the Big Ten. Head coach Jerome Moore, offensive coordinator Chip Lindsey, and defensive coordinator Wink Martindale, Wink Martindale, are all there for the Michigan Wolverines in 2025. I'm curious to see what they are going to do heading into the fall and 2025 season. My grade for Michigan overall is this, and I'm going to say for Michigan, it's an A, just a regular A, not an A plus, not an A minus, just an A. I'm going to be honest with you. It's the best grade of this episode. It's the highest grade of this episode. You're going to think, oh, do you have anything bad to say about Oregon and Illinois? No, I don't. But I think Michigan has the highest grade out of the four teams today, only because of how they're building. And I think they have a little bit more experience in some areas. Like, for example, I think they have more experience in the running game than Ohio State does. Think about it. Jordan Marshall and Justice Haynes, a dynamic duo at running the football. You hand off and you rotate both those backs in and out. That running game is going to eat people alive. I think that and some of the other stuff going on, like with Illinois and their running back position, we're going to talk about that here in a little bit. You also got some areas of inexperience on others that Michigan has, and Michigan has some inexperience. I think Michigan at the quarterback spot, when it comes to, I think out of all four teams that I'm talking about, Illinois has the most experienced quarterback. And they do. They have Luke Altmaier. Michigan is getting a new quarterback in Bryce Underwood. Ohio State's getting a new quarterback with Julian Sayin or Lincoln Kineholtz, or Tavian St. Clair, whoever starts. I think it's going to be Julian Sayin. And then Oregon has to have, could it be Dante Moore? You know what I'm saying? Like, they're looking at new quarterbacks. Meanwhile, Illinois has the experience at quarterback. But there is some inexperience on others that Michigan does have. Michigan has the favor in experience that others are inexperienced in, like running back. I think out of all of it, running back room and depth, Michigan has a solid running back room. And, no surprise there. Michigan's had a solid running back room for the past 5 to 6 years. But I'm just saying that the way everything's going, I think Michigan right now, to me, has that A grade heading into the fall, heading into the 2025 campaign, only because I just think that they have a leg up on some areas than others out of the four teams that we're talking about. So Michigan gets an A grade. We'll see how they do week one heading into the fall. And that is our spring results for Michigan. Let's go to Oregon. Oregon, they have their spring game this Saturday. This Saturday is their spring game, and that's how they end everything and wrap up their spring this Saturday. But their spring practices are about to be wrapped up. and how they're doing overall. Head coach Dan Lanning is back. Offensive coordinator Will Stein is also there. You also got defensive coordinator Tosh Lupoy back for this team. I think that Oregon is a team to be reckoned with again this year. I think they got a solid football team. Yes, you have to replace Dylan Gabriel. I think Dante Moore, to me, at the quarterback spot, to me, he has been doing well. There's no one way or the other right now. I'm not going to say that there's a giant leap, but if I had to place money, I think Dante Moore will probably have the starting edge, in the quarterback battle right now. The way that everything is going, I think the running game is a steal. I think Mekhi Hughes is a beast. I think Mekhi Hughes is still trying to learn a few things, and I think that there are still things that are good but not like great for Oregon yet, but that's okay. Oregon's still got to find their footing and still trying to practice consistently and get on the field consistently and go through the motions on everything. Listen, they lose some key pieces too, I think, and I think they got to find some areas of expertise to replace some of those key pieces. I think the depth of the on the line of scrimmage, on O-line and defensive line, is a question for me as well, and it's still a question. I watched some of their spring tape, and I watched some of their and I've seen some of their reports on spring, and that's what they're talking about. They're talking about trying to get everything good up front. And I think right now that's kind of the main concern that I got right now is up front. Physically, can they do it physically against Penn State, Ohio State, Indiana, Michigan, you name it, up front? I think quarterback play is going to be a factor eventually, but I think you have until fall to figure that out. To be real, I think Mekhi Hughes is going to be your starting running back, but I think that he's still going through the motions of learning how the playbook works and how the offensive system works under Dan Lanning and Will Stein. There's a lot of things and you got to factor in. Defensively, you're replacing Jabbar Muhammad. Like the secondary, they got some young guys defensively on the secondary, but they're going to build, and I think you got to get them more developed. Like there's some talented guys, but also inexperience in some areas, like I was just saying for the football team, for this Oregon Ducks football team. But the thing is, they're recruiting at a high level. They're recruiting in the transfer portal at a high level, and Dan Lanning is building and turning Oregon into a national powerhouse. Dan Lanning in Oregon, it won't shock me if they are not in a national championship or will not win a national championship when Dan Lanning's at Oregon. I'm such a believer in Dan Lanning and what he's doing at Oregon, to the point where I think he will either A, be a runner-up in a national championship game, or B, will win a national championship for the Ducks. I'm not joking. I just think that they're going to turn into a powerhouse, and they're going to be consistently at the level or at the top of the level, on the top of the food chain of college football. They're going to be in it as long as Dan Lanning's head coach there. He is doing a phenomenal job there, and he even took the Big Ten by storm in his first year and won the Big Ten championship his first season. He's already a conference champion. What is he going to do, at a national championship level? Let's see. Who knows? But they still got to work out some stuff during the spring as well. Like I said, head coach Dan Lanning, offensive coordinator Will Stein, defensive coordinator Tosh Lupoy is there for this team. They had their spring game Saturday, so I'm not going to judge too heavily on Oregon, but there are some things that I just mentioned that are concerning to me. Here are some of the bright spots that I got for this team. I think receivers they're going to be something. I think they got some good, solid receivers. I know they got to replace Tez Johnson but Stewart. I just think that they got some young, bright receivers on this team that are going to make a difference. I think that the Mekhi Hughes signing is the highest thing that I can grade on this offense. I think Mekhi Hughes is going to be a force to be reckoned with for the Ducks. He's a fast and powerful, balanced back, and I think what he did at Tulane was impressive, and I think he can do that at the Big Ten level and the Power 4 level. I think that those are some of the bright spots that I can think. I think some of the secondary, even though young, they have really, really bright spots for this team at the secondary for this defense, and that's what I'm excited about for this team, and that's what I'm excited about seeing from Oregon overall. I'm kind of curious to see how the defense at the line of scrimmage is going to pan out. That's my main concern. And condition-wise, how everything's going to be there for Oregon. So their spring game is Saturday, but so far, my spring result and my spring grade for Oregon is an A-. The same as Ohio State. I think an A- does suffice for Oregon. I think that they're a solid football team roster-wise, and they're going to be solid going into this season, entering week 1. I just think that they have some experience in some areas that they need to get developed and just continue to get better at. That's the only reason why I put them at A-. I think line of scrimmage is the only thing that I'm concerned about right now, and bolstering up the depth of the O-line and defensive line for this football team. Everybody learning the playbook and being fundamentally sound by the time fall's going to hit. And look, a lot of people aren't going to be fundamentally sound. There's going to be things that they need to work on heading into the season. That's everybody. It's every football team in college football. Every team. I'm not saying that. I mean, I'm not dumb. I mean, I'm not going to sit there and say, oh, they need to get better. I'm not saying all that stuff. I'm being honest. I mean, everybody needs to get better, and there's things that you can do that are better even heading into the season, even when you're in mid-season. There's things that you can do each and every week that you can get better at, but I'm saying, get everybody together, get gelled together, and get this roster gelled together, right? And that's what I think needs to happen, especially up front and on the line of scrimmage for Oregon. So A- is the grade that I'm going to have for Oregon heading into the fall and heading into the college football season for 2025. That is Oregon's spring result and what I got for them heading into the fall. Last but not least, before we conclude today's episode of Pigskin Frenzy, Illinois, the Fighting Illini, they will not have a spring game because of everything going on in the landscape of college football itself. And guess what? I mean, look, for people who do not have spring games and who will, I don't blame anybody. It's their decision. If you don't want to have a spring game, don't have a spring game. Just do spring practice. If you want to have a spring game along with spring practice, do that. It's your decision. I'm not judging anything. I'm just saying that for the foundation of spring, it gets everybody prepared and gelled up and together heading into the fall. So Illinois is going to have their spring practice, and they're starting to wrap everything up there. Luke Altmaier, the full-on development of him, what he has been doing at spring practice and what I've been seeing from him is pretty good. I'm not going to lie. Before we get into that, head coach Brett Bielema is back, along with offensive coordinator Barry Lunney Jr. and defensive coordinator Aaron Henry, all back for this team. Luke Altmaier, the full-on development of him, and can he take that leap and be a little bit more developed in a bigger situation? We found some of that out in the spring, and he's doing really, really good and handling himself under pressure because they're putting him in pressure situations, and he's handling it really, really well. I would like to see him in game under a pressure situation, and I can't wait to see that. But he's doing really, really well and developing even more as their QB1 and as the quarterback for this team. So I'm not worried about Luke Altmaier at the starting quarterback position. Out of all the teams we mentioned, he's the most experienced right now. So that's point blank the facts and the truth of it all and the matter of it all. So for that, what I'm worried about is the receivers and who's starting at running back. News broke that Josh McCray is entering the transfer portal and he is leaving Illinois and he is going to transfer somewhere else. I think that's a big blow. That honestly kind of put a dent in my grade overall. I'm going to be real. I think Josh McCray was, you have a lot of running backs, in the Big Ten. I think he was top 5 on my list in running backs of the Big Ten. I really do. He was up there with Katron Allen. He was up there. He was up there with Nick Singleton. He was up there with Mekhi Hughes, Jordan Marshall, and Justice Haynes. He was up there. I would have put him ahead of a lot of other guys. I think he is at least top 5 running back in the Big Ten. I like Josh McCray's an animal, and he's a menace, and he is a huge part of that offense. And I think that's a huge blow for them that he was the MVP of the Citrus Bowl as well. That's a huge blow, I believe. So I'm kind of curious to see where he lands. And I'm kind of curious to see now what Illinois is going to do at running back heading into the fall, and who is there going to be their primary receivers. They got talent. I just want to kind of figure out who's going to step up at the receiving core, who's going to step up at the secondary, especially at nickel for this team. I think they got a lot of depth at the secondary, which is really, really good for this Illini team heading into 2025. I liked what I saw from Aaron Henry's defense. They looked even more physical than they did in the, even than the Citrus Bowl in the past season. They're tackling a lot better as well. They're, making some good decisions, throwing the football with Luke Altmaier. I like seeing those things, and those are the things that I've been liking from their spring. Again, what I really want to see is who's going to step up and be that playmaker or receiver, and not only that, who's going to step up at the running back position after Josh McCray's transfer exit. I'm curious to see that. It's a concern because I think you got to have a balanced running game, especially in Barry Lunny Jr.'s system. And you got to have a balanced running game to fit that system. And Josh McCray fit that system well. And I'm curious to see who's going to step up and fill that void at running back for this Illini team. It really put a dent in my spring, honestly. I think that there are things that they can get better at. I think that there are things that they are doing really, really good at offensively and defensively. Like I said, tackling is really, really good. They're physical on defense. They have an edge to them about themselves on defense. I think the questions that I got especially are the running backs, the receivers, and up front on the offensive line. I want to see how much better they can get out of the O-line. I think they had some misses a little bit in practice, but they can improve and get better at that as well. So overall, my spring results for Illinois is a B+. I really can't go any higher than that right now. I think the dent was because of the running game. I think that's a huge blow, but not really because of that. I want to see who stands out of the receiving core. We haven't really seen that just yet. Who's going to stand out offensively on the offensive line, and just getting those things figured out and getting those little things figured out. But right now, B+ is still, I think it's still a good grade heading into the season. I really am a high on the Illini heading into the 2025 year and heading into the fall. And I'm curious to see how much better, if they're going to take another leap better, are they going to be better than last year heading in to 2025? So I'm curious about that, and I'm ready to see how they're going to look heading in to the fall. So that Illinois spring result is a B+ for me, and that is Illinois' spring football results. That is the spring results on Ohio State, Michigan, Oregon, and Illinois. Guys, we are out of time today. Guys, a big thank you for taking some time out of your Tuesday to just sit back, watch, and listen to some college football coverage and some spring football coverage presented by me. Now, after watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like each episode, leave comments down below. Spotify, Podbean, and Apple. All you got to do is just share around with others and follow on there as well. X and Instagram at Pigskin_Frenzy. Follow all the pages there. You're going to get news and highlights from across college football. You're going to get trivia questions on Instagram stories. Go and answer today's college football question as well as all things of today for Pigskin Frenzy. Guys, there's the website, www.pigskinfrenzy.weebly.com for all things of today for Pigskin Frenzy. Guys, big thank you for taking some time out of your Tuesday to just sit back, watch, and listen to some college football and some spring football coverage presented by me. We will be back Thursday with our Group of 5 edition of Pigskin Frenzy spring results, and we have Boise State, we have Tulane, we have UNLV, and Memphis all on tap for our spring results on Thursday for Group of 5 edition of Pigskin Frenzy on Thursday. So until Thursday's Pigskin Frenzy, guys, keep on plugging into Pigskin Frenzy, guys. Big thank you for tuning in each and every Tuesday and Thursday and every week. We have 4,900 listeners to the show. Big thank you for taking some time each and every week and every Tuesday and Thursday to just plug into Pigskin Frenzy and to engage with us here for the show. Keep on plugging in on all platforms. We could not do this show without our Lord and Savior, Jesus. Without him, we wouldn't be here doing this show, engaging in college football with you guys, and delivering this awesome coverage to you guys, delivering a show each and every Tuesday and Thursday. Guys, if you want to come to know Jesus, because it's the greatest decision you could ever make in your life, contact me, X and Instagram at Pigskin_Frenzy, as well as the website, www.pigskinfrenzy.weebly.com. Contact info, name, email, question down below. If you want to come to know our Lord and Savior, Jesus, without him, we couldn't be here, and we wouldn't be had this platform just do everything that we would do. So thank you to him, and we give all the praise to Jesus. And if you want to come to know him, contact me on those platforms. Guys, until Thursday's edition of Pigskin Frenzy, I'm Joel Norris. We're signing off. We'll see you Thursday. For everybody out there, please and always, we're praying for you all. We love you all. Stay the course.